Hey, Mike.
How are you?
Good. Sorry about that. It took forever for this thing to launch. I tried like twice and it just wouldn't start. I
Oh,
don't
no
know.
worries. No problem.
So I guess nobody else is joining us here. So we'll just go ahead and start up.
We're on 26, correct?
Right. You see that?
Hasn't popped yet. It's saying it's started screen sharing, but I don't see it. Sometimes takes a second. There it goes.
Okay, there you go. You should see it now.
Yep.
There's a little thing that says participants can now see your application. Okay, I'll read the Sanskrit and then we'll take turns reading the paragraphs.
Yeah, sure.
Text 26, Patram Pushvam Palam Tayam Yome Bhaktiya Prayachati Tadaham Bhaktiya Paritam Snami Prayatatmana. Synonyms: Patram, a leaf; Pushpam, a flower; Phalam, a fruit; Toyam, water; whoever; Mam, me, unto me; Bhaktiya, with devotion; Prayachati, offers; Tat, that; Aham, I; Bhaktiya Paritam, offered in devotion; Asnami, accept; Prayatatmana, of one in pure consciousness. Translation: if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. I know that's true because I just read this pastime. Lord Chaitanya was performing kirtan in Srivasa's house, and there was this little girl who was a maidservant of Srivas. That's where they had all the kirtans, and they'd perform kirtan all day, and sometimes Lord Chaitanya would go down to the Ganges and bathe, but sometimes he didn't even go down there. But this one girl named Duki, Duki means unhappiness or distress or misery or something. Duki would bring water from the Ganges, and sometimes she would cry to see Lord Chaitanya dancing and cry in ecstasy. And so Lord Chaitanya noticed that the water pots from the Ganges were all around the room, and he asked Srivas, who brought this Ganges water? And he said, oh, that was Duki. And he said, well, her name shouldn't be Duki, should be Suki. Suki means happiness. And so everybody called her Suki after that. So if you offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. So that's the moral of that story. So go ahead and read the first paragraph. We'll take turns.
Sure. Purport. Here, Lord Krishna, having established that he is the only enjoyer, the primeval Lord, and the real object of all sacrificial offerings, reveals what types of sacrifices he desires to be offered. If one wishes to engage in devotional service to the Supreme in order to be purified and to reach the goal of life, the transcendental loving service of God, then he should find out what the Lord desires of him. One who loves Krishna will give him whatever he wants, and he avoids offering anything which is undesirable or unasked for. Thus, meat, fish, and eggs should not be offered to Krishna. If he desired such things as offerings, he would have said so. He clearly requests that a leaf, fruit, flowers, and water be given to him. And he says of this offering, I will accept it. Therefore, we should understand that he will not accept meat, fish, and eggs. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk, and water are the proper foods for human beings and are prescribed by Lord Krishna himself. Whatever else we eat cannot be offered to him, since he will not accept it. Thus, we cannot be acting on the level of loving devotion if we offer such foods.
In the third chapter, verse 13, Sri Krishna explains that only the remains of sacrifice are purified and fit for consumption by those who are seeking advancement in life and release from the clutches of material entanglement. Those who do not make an offering of their food, he says in the same verse, are said to be eating only sin. In other words, their every mouthful is simply deepening their involvement in the complexity of the material nature. But preparing nice, simple vegetable dishes, offering them before picture of or deity of Lord Krishna, and bowing down and praying for him to accept such a humble offering, enable one to advance steadily in life, purify the body, and create fine brain tissues that will lead to clear thinking. Above all, the offering should be made with an attitude of love. Krishna has no need of food, since he already possesses everything that be, yet he will accept the offering of one who desires to please him in that way. The important element in preparation and serving in an offering is to act with love for Krishna. Yeah, another point is that Krishna, if someone offers him something, even if they think it's humble and they, it's not really worthy of the Lord, he'll grab it. Like Sudama Brahmana, he had some chipped rice.
Chipped rice, yeah.
He was very, very poor, and he tried to keep it from Krishna. He said, and Krishna just grabbed it out because he kept it in his cloth, and he ate one grain of rice, and then he was going to eat another one. And the goddess of fortune, Rukmini, she said, no, Krishna, don't eat another one. You've already, if you eat another one, there's no way that you could repay you for that offering. In other words, Krishna takes it as very, very valuable. Mm-hmm. Another example is Lord Chaitanya, when he was dancing in the, after he went to the Qazi's house and intimidated him so that they could perform pastimes of Sankirtan, he went to Kolavecha Sridhar's house, which is a real beaten down shack. And he had this iron bowl. It's like really funky iron bowl that had been repaired multiple times. But because it was his water pot, Lord Chaitanya went there and drank out of it, just because it was his devotees' water. And so, all the devotees were thinking, like they were just crying to think of how much love that the Lord has for his devotees, because he accepts everything from his devotees. And, it doesn't matter how humble it is. That's why anybody at any point in time cannot afford a leaf of flower, fruit, or water. And the whole point is, except, you offer it with love and devotion. And if it's offered in that way, then Krishna will accept it. And what a gift that is. Mm-hmm. Krishna will accept your offering. Go ahead.
The impersonalist philosophers who wish to maintain that the absolute truth is without senses cannot comprehend this verse of Bhagavad-gītā. To them, it is either a metaphor or a proof of the mundane character of Krishna, the speaker of the Gita. But in actuality, Krishna, the Supreme Godhead, has senses, and it is stated that his senses are interchangeable. In other words, one sense can perform the function of any other. This is what it means to say that Krishna is absolute. Lacking senses, he could hardly be considered in full in all opulences. In the 7th chapter, Krishna has explained that he impregnates the living entities into material nature. This is done by his looking upon material nature. And so in this instance, Krishna's hearing the devotee's words of love and offering foodstuff is wholly identical with his eating and actually tasting. This point should be emphasized. Because of his absolute position, his hearing is wholly identical with his eating and tasting. Only the devotee who accepts Krishna as he describes himself without interpretation can understand that the supreme absolute truth can eat food and enjoy it.
Did you ever hear that story about the Brahmana who was offering sweet rice? He offered everything in his mind to Krishna because he was so poor. And one day he was offering sweet rice in his mind, and he thought, well, this sweet rice is too hot. I want to test it. And so he put his finger in the sweet rice, and his finger was actually burned. He looked at his finger and he saw that it was burned. It was actually burned. And so Krishna was in the Vaikuntha with his goddess of fortune. He was smiling, and they were wondering what he was smiling about. And so he immediately called this Brahmana back to Godhead, and he explained the whole situation. So it's actually a process that is on the absolute platform. You can offer Krishna anything in any way. You can offer Krishna in the form of a picture, in the form of his deity, even in your mind. It doesn't matter. Krishna will accept it, and it says it's even more real than what we think of as real in the material world, because Krishna actually interacts with the devotee and accepts his offering. That's why it's just so hilarious that the impersonalists, they can't believe these things. It's such a simple verse, but they're so esoteric in their conception of what the truth is, that they, oh, that just means that Krishna is mundane, or that just means that, uh, whatever, they put some of their own spin on it, but they don't want to surrender and serve Krishna as a person.
Mhm.
Yeah, they think that he's without senses, because it says in the Upanishads, he doesn't see anything, he doesn't taste anything. That's why Lord Mahaprabhu said, they just want to like dismember Krishna. They want to cut off his arms and legs and punch out of his eyes and everything. And they because they don't want to see him as a person, because they actually want to commit suicide by merging into the impersonal Brahman. So they don't even like the idea of personality themselves. They're afraid of becoming persons again. So this is not the platform of ecstasy, but that's why Prabhupada came here to teach people that there is personality of Godhead that is in control of everything, and he can interact with us. Text 27. Yat akaroshi yat asnasi yat johosi dadasi yat tapasyasi konteya yat mat karushva marapanam. I was thinking about this verse, and I got a lot of realization from it. But yet what karosi you do, yet whatever arsnasi you eat, yet whatever juhosi you offer, the dasi you give away, yet whatever tapayasyasi, austerities you perform, konteya, O son of Kunti, tat that kurvashva make mat unto me arpanam, offering. Translation: O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Purport: thus, the duty of everyone is to mold his life in such a way that he will not forget Krishna in any circumstance. Everyone has to work for the maintenance of his body and soul together, and Krishna herein recommends that one should work for him. Everyone has to eat something to live, therefore one should accept the remnants of foodstuffs offered to Krishna. Any civilized man has to perform some religious ritualistic ceremonies, therefore Krishna recommends do it for me, and this is called archana. Everyone has a tendency to give something in charity. Krishna says, give it to me. And this means that all surplus money should be utilized for furthering the Krishna consciousness movement. Nowadays, people are very much inclined to the meditational process, which are not practical in this age. But if anyone practices meditating on Krishna 24 hours by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra rounds on his beads, he is surely the greatest yogi, as substantiated in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. So this simple thing, all you do, all you eat, all you offer, give away, as well as austerities you perform, should be done as an offering to me. So when you realize that Krishna is a person and that he's revealing himself as you serve him, then you can, whatever you do, you should have Krishna in the front of your mind as a meditational objective. You're offering everything to Krishna, so you should know the person to whom you're offering, and you should know what he likes. And when you do that, when you're actually in everything you do, like if you're washing dishes, if you're walking down the street or driving or pushing the buttons on a machine, you should think, have Krishna in your mind as you're doing these things, and realize Krishna's personality as you're doing this, and then offer it to him as a sacrifice, as an offering. And that way, how can you remain in Maya? How can you serve the illusory energy if everything you do, your mind is absorbed in offering everything to Krishna? You should offer and utilize everything and everyone in Krishna's service. That means the whole world can be utilized in Krishna's service. And therefore, a devotee has unlimited possibilities. We just have to figure out how to serve Krishna best at every moment. It's a moment-to-moment process, because Krishna is a dynamic personality. He can show you within your heart the best way to serve him in a moment-to-moment way. And so that's the way to stay out of Maya. Just, fully surrender to Krishna at every moment, and then do whatever he's telling you to do as an offering according to his pleasure. And then that will be accepted by him. Doesn't matter what it is. whatever you do. Go ahead and
Sure.
read this one.
Text 28. Shubha Shubha Paler Evam Mokshasya Karma Bandhayam Sannyasa Yoga Yukatma Vimukto Mam Upaisyasi. Synonyms. Shubha, good. Ashubha, evil. Palaya, results. Evam, thus. Mokshase, free. Karma, action. Bandhanai, bondage. Sannyasa, of renunciation. Yoga, the yoga. Yukta Atma, having the mind firmly set on. Vimukta, liberated. Mam, to me. Upaisyasi, you will attain. Translation. In this way, you will be freed from all reactions to good and evil deeds, and by this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. Purport. One who acts in Krishna consciousness under superior direction is called yukta. The technical term is yukta vairagya. This is further explained by Rupa Goswami as follows. Rupa Goswami says that as long as we are in this material world, we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then that is called yukta vairagya. Actually, situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind, and as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also specified. By this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyoti, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. It is clearly mentioned here, Mam Upaisyasi. He comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. There are 5 different stages of liberation, and here it is specified that the devotee who has always lived his lifetime here under the direction of the Supreme Lord, as stated, has evolved to the point where he can, after quitting this body, go back to Godhead, engage directly in the association of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who has no other interest but to dedicate his life to the service of the Lord is actually a sannyasi. Such a person always thinks of himself as an eternal servant, dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. As such, whatever he does it for the benefit of the Lord. Whatever action he performs it as service to the Lord. He does not give serious attention to the fruit of activities or prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas. For ordinary persons, it is obligatory to execute the prescribed duties mentioned in the Vedas, but although a pure devotee who is completely engaged in the service of the Lord may sometimes appear to go against the prescribed Vedic duties, actually, it is not so. It is said, therefore, by Vaishnava authorities that even the most intelligent person cannot understand the plans and activities of a pure devotee. The exact words are Vaishnavaram Kriya Mudha Vijnebna Ujjaya. A person who is thus always engaged in the service of the Lord, or is always thinking and planning how to serve the Lord, is to be considered completely liberated at present and in the future. He is going home. His going home back to Godhead is guaranteed. He is above all materialistic criticism, just as Krishna is above all criticism. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to look at like making everything that you do an offering to Krishna. Like I understand like the always remembering Krishna, never forgetting. Certain actions are, would be more in line of devotional service, either pleasing Krishna or his devotees. But like if I'm just like walking down the street, or I'm returning a shopping cart at the grocery store, or I'm sweeping up trash, like I'm not sure how I can. I know I can try to be mindful of Krishna and see him in all things and recognize that, everything's an expansion of him, but I'm not sure how do I turn that into an offering to Krishna.
The offering is in the surrender itself. If you're a pure devotee, doesn't do anything but surrender to Krishna. At every moment, he's surrendered his heart and soul and mind and words and body to the service of Krishna. So as long as you're not doing that, that means you're going to suffer. If you have any tinge of fruitive activity, like you say, you're going to the grocery store and you want to, or you want to do anything, if you're doing your job and you're thinking, I want to get paid for this, that's kind of fruitive in your activity, unless you offer that to Krishna. If you think it's for yourself, then that's automatically a selfish activity. But if you're doing everything for Krishna, then it is a sacrifice. That means that you're not doing it for yourself anymore. You're doing it for Krishna. You're doing everything for Krishna, just like the gopis. They didn't have any lusty desires, even though they were kind of attracted to Krishna. They were simply trying to please him, his senses. And so therefore they were completely purified to the point where they were not at all thinking their own sense gratification or selfish activities. They had not even a tinge of that in their personality or their behavior. So as long as we have any ulterior motive, as long as, what's the definition of a pure devotee? A pure devotee is anyabhilasata sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam, which means that you're completely 100% surrendered to Krishna at every moment, and you don't have any tinge of philosophical speculation, mental speculation, or fruitive activity in your mind, because whatever plans we have, they're all Maya. All we have to do is surrender to Krishna's plan. His plan is way better than ours. No matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, he has a better idea than we have. And as long as we have our own plan, then we'll always be miserable, because we're hovering on the mental plane. But if we surrender to Krishna, then Krishna takes us out of the mental plane and onto the transcendental plane, above the modes of nature. And then we can be free to act, because Krishna is impelling us within our heart to do what he desires. And that's confirmed by the spiritual master from without, by his instructions that we've heard, and from the scriptures that we've heard. This triangle of truth, the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, whatever agrees with that, that is bona fide. That's our natural constitutional position. And as long as we're doing that, then that is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. And when you get accustomed to doing that activity, you develop an attachment for Krishna, because Krishna rewards those who, as they surrender, he rewards them accordingly. And the more you surrender, the more you get attached to the taste of the rasa of developing a relationship with Krishna, and then the activities that are involved in that relationship. And ultimately, the goal is love of God. So that's the progression. But first of all, we just have to understand that surrender is the bottom line. That's the conclusion of the Bhagavad-gītā. So we should always be chanting, we should always be hearing, we should always be churning these words of the Bhagavad-gītā in our mind and senses in order to surrender to Krishna's will, not our own will. Just like it says, thy will be done, not mine. So, if we are doing that all the time without even an inch of our own plans entering into it, then we'll always be happy, because we're no longer responsible for our actions. Krishna indemnifies all our karma at that point. You're no longer, if you're not engaged in fruitive action anymore, then you're completely free from all reaction. So all of our activities have to be molded in that way, based on sacrifice and an offering. And that's just the beginning. And once you develop an attraction to hearing the messages of Krishna, then at that point, that taste, or rati, develops into a constant attraction. And when we're constantly attracted like that, and we develop a relationship, we can know what Krishna wants at every moment and please him. And when we're on that platform, we develop a relationship. And when that relationship is matured, it develops into ecstatic emotional involvement. And then, the ultimate thing is love of God, which cannot be jumped to all of a sudden. It's a gradual process, following the different steps. But it's a science, and it's all been laid out by the pure devotees like Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion. These is a step-by-step process, beginning from the stage of practice all the way up to the stage of the highest love of God, which is by following in the footsteps of the gopis, and following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who's laid all this up and off in a scientific way. By following his instructions in the scriptures and reading these words, we can understand the path. By following the footsteps of the Mahajans, everything becomes very, very easy. That's all we have to do is just, act according to what it says in the scriptures. Always think of Krishna, never forget him, and do everything for him instead of ourselves. Prabhupada says at the beginning of the Gita, because we're not watering down this process of Bhagavad-gītā, we're serving Krishna's senses, not our own. And that's why this movement is successful, because it's not based on selfish, cheating religion. That's what the Bhagavatam kicks out right at the very beginning. Cheating religion is something that has an agenda apart and beyond what Krishna's agenda is. We're preaching the message of Krishna. In my little, advertisement for this program 3 times a week, Prabhupada, I quote Prabhupada at the top of the meme. It says, what we're preaching, this is Bhagavad-gītā. We're not doing anything we're not manufacturing anything. So it's a process, and it's just Krishna's words and Krishna's instruction to every living entity, and it's available to everyone. And all we have to do is put that into our lives and show other people how to do the same thing. That's basically what I understand as, the process of offering everything to Krishna. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It did. I mean, on one level, it seems so impossible. I mean, and it seems almost like this idea that, as it says, in the purport here, this idea that, you get to this place where you're living under the direction of the Supreme Lord, you're living in Krishna's mercy, but it almost feels like you need that mercy to get to Krishna's mercy, to be able to surrender. You need Krishna's help, or, every step of the way. And it feels like the process and the result are so intertwined. They're almost identical. It's almost like you need some of the result for the process to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is the way it is. And until we get off the mental platform and actually surrender to Krishna and actually are on the plane of bhakti, which is the Lord's mercy on us, then we can't really understand what devotional service is. For decades, I didn't know what devotional service was, even though I was a devotee. But devotional service means, it's the mercy of Krishna and acting on that in your day-to-day activities. And whatever your spiritual master tells you to do, whatever, the hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, praying, offering everything, accepting Krishna as a friend, surrendering everything. These are 9 processes of devotional service. That's devotional service. And it's called bhakti. And bhakti you can't understand Krishna except through the process of bhakti. Once we understand Krishna, then everything is very, very easy. And you said it's hard because we don't know who Krishna is, therefore it's hard. We try to imagine what service is, but we can't do that unless Krishna tells us what he wants. How can we serve Krishna unless we know who we're serving? So Krishna reveals himself if he's pleased with us, he'll give us an indication of how we can serve him. We just dovetail all our activities in Krishna's service at first, and then as we surrender, Krishna will give us a better and better idea of how to serve him better and how to please him. The bottom line is pleasing Krishna. If he's pleased, then there's nothing more that we have left to do. That's the goal of life. Ultimately, love of God is in the pleasing process. He bestowed his love on that little girl and called her Suki. And everybody was so blown away by that. They just started crying because Krishna is so merciful. If we understand how great Krishna is and how he's our best friend and how he's, we'll just be so attracted to that personality that we want to serve him. That's what the definition of, once you understand Krishna is a cause of all causes and everything is, you'll surrender to him. That only happens after millions of births for most people. So, but it's a gradual process. And when reading really helps me to narrow it down, because the surrender is the only process. Lord Chaitanya says one of his 6 precepts is to accept everything that is coming from Krishna and reject everything that's not related to Krishna. So just like when Lord Chaitanya was storming the Qazi's house, it's like the best civil disobedience. He was the primeval civil disobedient leader. They had hundreds of millions of people with torches that were storming the Kazi's house, and they were all thinking, all they thought about was Krishna's name. That's the only thing that they were thinking about, and that is one point of determination. Otherwise, if you're all the other people, if they're not focused on the name, then their intelligence is many branched. So the only thing in this world is actually the holy name of Krishna. Bhaktivinoda says that everything else is Maya. The holy name is everything, because that is Krishna. And so that's the only way that we can be liberated in this Kali Yuga, is by chanting the name. So it's just as simple as that. You don't even have to understand the process or anything. If you just chant, then you'll be it'll gradually, Krishna, if he's pleased, he will reveal the name to you, and you'll be able to chant purely without any aparad. Even the shadow of chanting will keep you in the human form of life and prevent you from Yamaraj from taking you to hell. Even a shadow of the holy name is capable of doing that. So you can't even really comprehend how great the name of Krishna is. And that's the bottom line. So that's what Lord Chaitanya came here to preach by starting his Sankirtan movement. So we really have to concentrate on that. And when we chant purely, Krishna will reveal what he wants, and then we can serve him to our heart's content. So that's the bottom line. We can go, let's see, was there one more verse here that we can do? Yeah, why don't you read this one?
Sure.
And then we'll have to end it. There's only two people, so we can go a little over time.
Okay. Yep.
But you read the entire thing, purport, and then if you have any questions after that.
Sure. Text 29. Samaham sarvabhuteshu name dvesho stina priyam ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayete teshu chapiyaham. Synonyms: Sama, equally disposed; aham, I; sarvabhuteshu, to all living entities; na, no one; me, mine; dveshya, hateful; asti, is; na, nor; priya, dear; yea, those; bhajanti, render transcendental service; to, yet; mam, unto me; bhaktya, in devotion; mayi, unto me; te, such persons; teshu, in them; cha, also; api, certainly; aham, I. Translation: I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion as a friend is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Purport: one may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination, it is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet he has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity, in whatever form, is his son, and as such, he provides everyone with a generous supply of the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pours rain all over, regardless whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives special attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore, they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, Mayi te, in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words Ashtina Priya Jay Ye Bhajanti. Whoever surrenders unto me proportionately, I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity, but in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service of the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate.
Yeah, that's really a beautiful analogy. I mean, the whole bottom line is that Krishna doesn't know anyone but the devotees, and the devotees don't know anybody but Krishna. And so it's a reciprocal relationship. Krishna is in the heart of the devotees, and Krishna always tries to please his devotee, and the devotees are always trying to please Krishna, and it becomes a reciprocal competition between the devotee and Krishna. And just like when the gopis pleased Krishna, or when Krishna said something that the devotees, that the gopis, that showed his love, the gopis looked even more beautiful. And so that it's like there was an ever increasing competition, and like the gold and the diamond, they become more and more beautiful. And it's an ever increasing competition between the two. And because it is on the pure platform, it's nothing is selfish about it. It is unlimited. It's like Ananda Bodhivardhanam, the ocean of pure love of God is an unlimited, ever increasing ocean of bliss. And so we have no experience of that in this material world. There is no unlimited happiness anywhere in this material world. So as Prabhupada says, it's a transcendental situation, and it's beyond the selfish mental platform of the living entities who are just here to dominate the modes of nature and lord it over the material resources of this world. The devotees' only business is to serve the Lord, and the Lord reciprocates in the same way. And so that is the steady state of devotional service. And it is a reciprocation. That's the thing. If you have reciprocation, you're serving somebody, you'll know what they want at every moment. And then it becomes clear. If it's not clear, then you have to start from the beginning and start chanting and reading. And then it will become clear what Krishna wants, But that I just thought that was a beautiful analogy, the analogy of the devotee, and the Lord is the diamond, and the devotee is the gold. And when they're combined, it looks very nice. So are there any other questions or that you might have?
No, in fact, like the last couple purports, like after the verse, like I feel a question forming in my mind, and then the purport goes right on to answer it. Like in this one,
It happens a lot with Prabhupada, once.
I mean, it's almost like my mind got read and it got answered, because I was thinking about the supposed partiality that is shown to the devotees, in the past couple verses, and then with this particular verse, and then like the very first line of the purport, one may question, and it's just like boom, right into the
answer. Like it says that Krishna is equal to everyone, but at the same time, it is a natural situation that someone who is devoted to him, they're going to reciprocate. So as we reciprocate, the Lord responds accordingly. It's not that he's partial only to the devotees. Whoever's reciprocating with him, he responds to accordingly. So it's not an unfair thing. Oh, he's not giving me any attention. Why is he giving you attention? It's not like that. It's whoever. It just says, when you learn the truth, you'll know that all living beings are in me in their mind. In other words, Krishna is in their hearts, and Krishna actually takes his seat in the heart of a devotee, and he dances on their tongue when we're chanting the holy name. And so he's always there if our hearts remain clean. But if our minds are somewhere else, then Krishna will not reciprocate as much. So it's up to us to try to purify our hearts from all our sense gratification And when all our material desires are gone, then our hearts will melt as soon as we hear these pastimes and these instructions. And when your heart is soft and your consciousness is pliable and humble and submissive and always remaining in a respectful attitude, then we'll be able to reciprocate more easy. We'll be more responsible to Krishna's messages.
And in addition to this, the personal reciprocation, he's still providing for every living entity all their necessities anyway. Like
Yeah, I
above
mean,
and beyond that.
somebody who thinks he's like the best friend of it's like these big philanthropists, they're so magnanimous because they're rich or whatever. Well, how many people can they care for? Krishna is in everyone's heart. You don't even know what's going on in your wife's body or in anybody else's body other than your own. But Krishna is in every single body, and he knows what everyone wants, the many trillions of living entities simultaneously, and past, present, and future. So how can you compete with that? Best thing to do is surrender to him and let him direct you in the best way to serve. And when you serve him, you're serving every living entity. Every living entity is satisfied with your service because you're actually serving the root of existence. You're actually pleasing the root of everyone's soul. He is the soul of our souls. And so if we serve that soul of our soul, then our soul will be nourished, and all the leaves and branches, all the other living entities will see their relationship with him, and everything will be harmonious. Otherwise, it's just hell in the mature world, as we see nowadays. It's just hell on earth, So, if it's just a matter of purifying our hearts, and then Krishna can sit there. Anyway, thank you very much. I think that's all for now. How many more verses do we have here? I have no idea. We must be towards the end, but anyway, we'll figure it out, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Krishna.